All right, everyone. Welcome once again. It is Friday, and you know what that means? It is time for manufacturing e-commerce success. I'm one of the co-hosts of the show today, Damon Pistolka. That lovely guy right over there, Kurt Anderson, is co-host, brother with the most. Take it away because we are talking about B2B e-commerce readiness training today, my friend. Let's get it going.
Dude, who knew like 4 years ago when we came up with this show that, when we named the show, it was really for these two guests here today, right?
Yeah.
Who knew that we had the premonition to like come up with that one. So happy Friday, everybody. Happy March 1st, man. It's a new month, and I think it's Women's History Month. So celebrate your women of your life. It's a wonderful month. And here we are, like spring is just around the corner. And it is my honor, it is my privilege to introduce our two guests here today, man. I'm just absolutely thrilled. Joseph Maxwell, I want to start with you, my friend. Happy Friday. How are you, dude?
Absolutely outstanding. Having a great day. Spring is actually here in Kansas, so we're loving it. It's occasional cool temperatures, but it feels like Florida, man. It's amazing here. On the warm side.
On the warm side. Yeah. I was talking to somebody in St. Louis the other day. They're like, it's 80. Like
literally,
I don't know,
literally. Yes.
Yeah. And like I live in snow country. It's supposed to be 70 here this weekend. So I don't know what's going on. So Damon, our second guest of the day is we have a repeat offender. My goodness gracious. He needs to talk to his mother, be a better judge of character, but he's back on the show. Mr. John Guess. Happy Friday. John, how are you, dude?
Doing great. Glad to be here. Always love talking about manufacturing and e-commerce. So let's geek out on it. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, it's our favorite topic. So guys, everybody out there, drop us a note. Let us know where you're coming from. Yep. And if you have e-commerce questions, boy, this is the time to ask. So, hey, Whitney Houston is in the house here. So this is a fan favorite of ours right here, Whitney Houston. Yeah. So Whitney, happy Friday to you. Whitney. Happy Women's History Month to our friend Whitney. So guys, drop us a note. Let us know that you're out there. And again, you want to connect with our two guests here, high-level e-commerce experts. But before we go there, Damon, I'm doing it. I don't think I did it with John when he was on last time. We're going to do it. You ready?
Okay.
Are you guys, is everybody sitting down? Is everybody ready?
You guys are ready.
Okay. Yeah, we're good here.
We're ready.
You know what? Since John's a repeat, I'm going to start with Joseph. So Joseph, my friend, man, the respect and admiration I have for this guy, we've become dear buddies. Joseph, my question for you that I want to start with now, John, I'm going to hit you with a different question. So just you sit back and relax, please, my friend. Joseph, could you please share with the folks, when you were a little guy growing up, you just shared with us that you're born in Seattle, lived in Kansas, maybe moved around. When you were a little guy growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero as a little guy growing up?
My dad.
100%. Oh, great answer. Great.
Yep, loved him, and we've been best friends. So yeah, he's been my hero for many years.
Many years, a lifetime. And and please share with the folks why. What makes Dad such an amazing hero? Let's go there.
Yeah, so he worked to be a good dad to us, and he spent time with us. He helped. We saw a lot of the country together. He was a good role model for me, and ultimately, we're not quite as close now just due to some distance as far as geographical distance. But I work to emulate a lot of what I learned from him to be a good dad myself, and so he was a very good role model. Not having that himself in when he was growing up, he worked to be a good dad to us. Again, that was my hero. He was my hero growing up.
Wow. Absolutely love it. And Dad's name, please?
Steve.
All right. Well, hey, big shout out to Steve and what a great job he did. And I can tell firsthand, Damon, Joseph is an amazing father. He's one of these guys I love hanging out with. He makes me a better person. And I really admire how you, what a great family man you are, Joseph. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely. Well, and again, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you too, Kurt. Lots of good memories already, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just getting the party started. So, all right. Hey, we've got a couple friends here. So Anna's here today, Chile, Connecticut. So Anna, great post that you put out. Man, she is a wonderful engineer. She had a little post on LinkedIn. We had a little exchange. Anna, happy Friday to you, my friend. John Baglino.
John Baglino.
In the house here, man, coming to us live from Jersey. So, John, happy Friday. Thank you for joining us here today. Guys, connect with each other.
Did you see John's picture? I got to stop.
What picture?
on picture of coaching the basketball team?
I might have missed it.
Oh, you got to go back and check it out. Sorry, I get distracted easily.
Talk about great dads. John Baglino is on the basketball court with his dads. He'll be on the baseball, and as a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about hockey. He was at the outdoor hockey game, at the Meadowlands just a couple of weeks ago. So John,
nice.
drop a note in the chat box about that, Mr. Baglino. Yeah. So, all right, guys, let's keep the party rolling. We've got John Guest here. So John, I'm going to hit you with a different question. Are you sitting down? Are you ready for the next question?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
I'm ready, Kurt.
Okay. You know what? I don't have a new question. John, when you were a little guy growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero when you were a little guy growing up?
I was actually thinking it's probably good you have a different question for me, because my answer was going to be the exact same. My father. He's passed. He passed a little over 5 years ago. Grew up the son of a preacher man. I think they made a song about that. And so
a song about that.
A godly man. I think, it's still deeply rooted within me, my morals. And, I owe that to him. Definitely.
Nice.
Man, all right. That's awesome. Dad's name, please.
Don Guess. Be great. Don Guess.
Don Guess, the man of the cloth. And so what do you got, Damon?
I love it. The great Don Guess.
Yeah, that's right.
If I could be remembered like that, if my kid said something about that like me once in my life, it would be awesome. That's great, John. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you had a father like that.
Yeah. And same thing, John, great father. We've gotten to know John. I've worked on multiple projects. We've been together in person several times. And I just want to give a shout out. These guys, Damon, these guys are troopers. So I live in the middle of nowhere, New York. It's cold here. It's right near Buffalo, tons of snow. And you know what these guys do? They come visit me in December, man. It was I'm like, nobody comes here in December. Brave. These two guys come here in December, took them to a Buffalo Sabres game.
But Kurt made it worth it. Like, we had a blast. Like, it was a wonderful time.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
And hey, how about give a shout out to if people want chicken wings, man, you got to come here.
Oh, yeah.
True. Right. Before we dive into e-commerce, let's have a little chicken wing conversation here.
Yeah. All those wings you took us to, what was the name of the place? The Anchor Grill?
The original. It's the original chicken wing place. It's called the Anchor Bar. Yeah. Right in downtown Buffalo. Yep. The Anchor Bar.
They were so good that I, on my way flying out the next day, I was in the Buffalo airport and I saw a sign there that said the Anchor Bar. I was like, that sounds pretty that's where I ate last night. Now I would be I'm guessing it's not the exact same recipe. Airport food is never the same, but
yeah,
those were pretty damn good right there. Again, I was like, I just have to get myself some more of those wings.
I went back the next day to the original one. So I went back.
Did you really? I don't know if I knew that.
I swear. Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
I had a whole lineup. We were going to go to different restaurants. I'm like, when you come to Buffalo, you got to go to this place and this and this. Man, we were just all about the wings. So we had a great time. We caught a Buffalo Sabres game. John Baglino, you definitely come up and visit, dude. And I'm going to get you some wings. That is no doubt about it. And I'll come down to you and get some Jersey pizza. Anna says, hey, she went to RIT, man. That's one of the top engineering schools in the country. That's Anna. That's why you're the problem solver, is because you're from upstate New York going to RIT, my friend. That's very impressive. All right, guys, let's dive in. We're going to totally geek out about e-commerce, manufacturing, e-commerce success. Joseph, let's start with you, my friend. Mm-hmm. Let's go here. Why e-commerce? Why did your path, you're a young guy, your dad was your hero and you're kind of get things off the ground. How did you pick your path and career into e-commerce?
I kind of landed in it. So I'm 34 years old. When I was 10 years old, I started fooling around with writing computer programs. And that was back in the day where there was those handheld blocks of plastic and metal that we used to call PDAs. Not that type of PDA you see on the news nowadays, but portable desktop assistant or something like that. And so... yeah, that's right. They were massive. I started playing around with that when I was 15. Had an opportunity to build an actual e-commerce application, which I did, and it transacted about $500,000 in revenue about 20 years ago. And so that was kind of what got me started in that. And then actually it was a family business. I got started then on the e-commerce side, working with some customers there who had a need. That was back 2010, 2011, somewhere there. So still somewhat early the mass entrance of e-commerce into the market. And honestly, since then, it's been a blast. Like being able to help people realize their vision of employing, we kind of call it software engineering, seeing that there's a legitimate engineer in the house here. I really shouldn't use that term because it's not like you have the sign off like a PE does and that kind of thing. But that's basically solving problems with software. And that's what I've loved. I absolutely have loved doing that for the past, you could argue almost 20 years of my life, but it's really in earnest over the past 15 years.
Well, wow. I'll tell you what's awesome is that you just, to discover your passion at such a young age and then to bring it to, to reality. And what's the expression? If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So if you're just joining us, we're here with Joseph Maxwell, John Guest. They are with Swift Otter. What a great name. We're going to dive into that. E-commerce experts, e-commerce extraordinaires. So, all right, you've been executing e-commerce for 20 years. That is just amazing. John, let's come to you, my friend. Now, Damon, I don't know if you noticed something about these two, and it's really difficult. We've become pretty good friends, right? Right? Do you guys agree with that? We've become pretty,
absolutely. I agree.
Absolutely. Best hair in e-commerce is on this.
I'm telling you,
now, not including, and it's really difficult for me to hang out with these two guys. So, all right, talking about great hair, John Guest. Can you just share a little bit? How did you get your path started into e-commerce? Let's go there.
Actually, I'm happy to talk about this. So I worked for a distribution company for about 15 years, and I started out there as a network admin. And so had a little bit of technical wherewithal. And this company they had a website, but they weren't doing any e-commerce. And so with my technical background, even though I didn't know anything about e-commerce, I kind of became and got tagged as the champion of that project. And then we got online, actually started a sister division that we grew into multi-million dollars and, grew and grew. And the company, during that time shifted the way they do business. It was incredible to watch. But during that time, since I became that champion, it kind of really carved out a career for me. Like I enjoyed it. Went back to school, got my MBA in marketing and just really dove into e-commerce. About 3 or 4 years ago, left that distribution company, went to the agency side, and it's what I enjoy. It's what I geek out on. It's what we're doing a little bit today, but it all came from being a network admin, and we didn't have anybody that did e-commerce, so they dropped it in my lap, so to speak. Nice. Yeah.
All right, so we have one that found it, as in grade school, right? And the other one,
literally,
the accidental e-commerce expert, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, I've had the honor and privilege of working with John on a couple of projects, and he's the real deal. And so it's just an honor and privilege to work with you, John. Just high integrity, high expertise. Yeah. Joseph, let's go here. So as a young guy, kind of getting your path started, it's very easy. Like, hey, I'm going to go work for somebody, start a job, get a career. What's it like as an incredibly young entrepreneur? What was too young to realize how scary it is? Was it scary?
Oh, yeah.
Like take us there. Take us in 12 years ago when you started Swift Otter. What was that like?
It was interesting. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was biting off. It was part of my dad and my older brother's family business umbrella. And it started under that. 2016, we split off to our own corporation. But it was basically needing to provide these services. And I saw a vision. Like I felt like this was going to go somewhere. And I needed to establish it as such. We were able to solve problems. We were able to get business. We were able to grow. And let's see, that would have been early 20s at that point. And it was not something I really anticipated getting to this point in the slightest. But it has been a really fascinating journey. It's had its ups and its downs. But overall, it's been an outstanding ride.
Well, I love it. And let's go here. You go to the family business and they have the dollar, framed on the wall.
Yeah.
Can you go back and do you remember your, say when you went outside of the family business, who was that first client? What was that like of taking on that first, hey, I have a customer. Somebody wants to pay me for something inside my head. Can you take us back there? What was that like?
Absolutely. So the client, and actually they are a client of ours this day, Marlowe White Uniforms. Yep. Yep, nice. Marla White. And they're actually in Leavenworth, Kansas, where pretty much where I grew up. I was born in Washington, but grew up in Leavenworth, Kansas. In Leavenworth, Kansas, at the time, we had more prisons than pawn shops. We had plenty of prisons, and there's a whole history lesson behind how that happened. But in Leavenworth, though, it's right next to the fort, and they have a whole bunch of military military officers that come through because it's a college, and that's what Marla White sells to those people. So my older brothers had gotten a shopping cart, as we called it back in the day, set up, and it was working, but they were running into consistent headaches with these limitations that were in the software. And that was back in the day when Magento was what Shopify is now, or BigCommerce is as well. But Shopify has more of that brand recognition where people say, I want to go to Shopify. Well, back then they say, I want to go Magento. So they came to us and said, hey, what would you think about this? At the time, Magento was a beast. There was hundreds of thousands of lines of code. And I'm like, I'll learn it. And so they said, okay, we like working with you guys. You can learn it. We brought on a consultant as well, who ultimately trained me, Lee Saferite. He's been very instrumental in my career and helping me grow to a really good place of technical proficiency. And we got that, and we built it. We launched it, learned a lot in the process, made a few mistakes, but ultimately proceeded on and built some other really great projects for them, and then started getting additional clients after that.
Yeah, so cool.
Okay. All right. Now, John, hang on one second, because I've got to piggyback off of that. So Damon, this is fascinating. If you guys, we're here with Joseph Maxwell, John Guest of Swift Otter. If you go to Swift Otter's website, and Damon, what do we love to preach? That line that we love: out teach the competition. If you go to Swift Otter, they provide training and certification for developers, for Magento, which is Adobe now, developers. Joseph, pop quiz. I don't know if you studied for this or not. Pop quiz. Okay. How many folks have gone through your training? Now, just catch what he just said. I'm going to teach myself Magento. He raised his hand like, hey, I'll do that. Yeah. There's a customer that's willing to pay me. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn. Joseph, how many folks have gone through your training process since that time?
I estimate about 10,000 people have actually received Adobe certification as a result of our training material. It's been way more than that have actually used our materials, but trying to be conservative, about 10,000 that have gotten certified. And ultimately that came from back in that day. I was like, how can I level up? How can I prove our expertise? I was fighting against some big fish to get business, and I was like, well, I can get certified. So ultimately I got, I think, didn't they have 6 or 8 certifications on the Magento platform again before it became Adobe? There were 6 or 8 certifications. I got every one of those. And then when Magento 2 came out, which is now Adobe Commerce, I went through the process and got every one of those certifications. And that's where I started helping people become or achieve those certifications, because it was kind of a Wild West.
I'll tell you, I love that story. That is absolutely insane. And when you think, hey, and Damon, let's go to the chat box, man. We've got Gail is here today.
Gail's here.
Friday, hey, Gail. To you. Gail's going to join us here in a few weeks. So Gail, happy Friday. Send lots of love to you, my friend. All right. That is phenomenal. What a story. And so for folks out there, you know, I received a note on LinkedIn the other day, like, hey, Kurt, I'm trying to crack into some manufacturing, not sure where to start. Man, take a page out of this book right here. Be the fierce educator, and you are going to be the by default, you become the industry thought leader. John, let's come to you, my friend. All right, so you're kind of like by default, like, I don't know if you drew the short straw or what happened at the distributor, right? Like, hey, John can do it. Where did you? And so for folks out there that are listening, like, man, you know, I'm the solo marketer at my manufacturer, or I'm the solopreneur and I want to get into e-commerce. Talk a little bit about, if you can go back several years when you're at that distributor and all of a sudden this falls on your plate, what were your first steps of trying to figure out this e-commerce thing?
You know, it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of kind of what Joseph was just talking about, a willingness to dive in and learn. And, you know, I think you've got to, I saw it to be clear, I saw it as a career move for me. I saw a path where if we're successful, I can be successful. It's something that I enjoyed in the beginning enough to put that time in. We did work with an agency. I learned a ton from them along the way. It wasn't just me doing it along. I learned a ton from agency. There's a ton of good agencies out there. They know what they're doing. They, working with them, you can learn a lot through that. But a lot of it was me doing the research. Podcasts weren't as big around then, so it wasn't as accessible to go do that. But it was a lot of studying on my own, researching on my own, trial, error, getting in the trenches and just, learning as you go. We built a website, and, I think part of the people in our business thought, okay, we're here. We had just begun once the website was launched. And so, you're always getting to that next level, growing and trying new things. And then when you get into the marketing side of it, you can't just do that one thing. You've got to do 100 different things. It was fun. It's fun. It's still fun.
Well, yeah, and when you started that out too, like you said, there wasn't all the abundance of information. Now you were probably gleaning through tech boards and communities and everything else, asking questions. Those old days like that, you really had to dig for information.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
It wasn't common knowledge like it is today. I mean, you mentioned it, Joseph, how Shopify has just made it like QuickBooks, for some people anymore to if you got a small store and you don't need much. So
that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, and we've and again, guys, if you have any questions, boys, drop those in the chat box. We got a question in here. We're going to bring it up. So
approximately how long would it take to become a Magento 2 developer, having no prior experience, just admin e-commerce support with no coding?
That is a outstanding question. I wish I had a more pleasant answer for you. I usually estimate it would probably take 2 years to become reasonably proficient. Yeah. For somebody that doesn't have that development background, it's going to be an incredibly steep and at times, unfortunately, discouraging learning curve. Like it's tough, but at the end of the day, the power that you will have in being able to manage and work with such an incredibly powerful system is amazing. And so it's a long journey, but well worth it in the end.
Yeah. Well, and I love what John was talking about, and that, John, that you kind of gave me like a little aha moment is, for that solo marketer that wants to, I'm sorry to say this, not only you're not always secure at that job. We had a friend of ours on the show 2 weeks ago, Jordan Yates, and so I'm not like, she was on the live show. I was at the Industrial Marketing Summit a month ago, and she was on stage as a keynote speaker and a panelist, and she is a powerhouse speaker, man. And she's gushing about her company and this, that, the other thing. She got laid off on Tuesday. 4 days after being at a conference talking about her company. And because she's branded herself and just doing such an amazing job on LinkedIn, she started a side hustle, started her marketing firm. And it eases it certainly hurts to lose that job, but she put herself by being proactive. So John, I love what you're saying about that certification enhances you and your credentials and your value in the market, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a little fun fact, I too, before I worked at Swift Otter, used their training materials to get my Adobe certification. So that's kind of how Joseph and I got connected. And so, it's not just the certification side, it's the networking side, it's the community side.
So
absolutely.
All right, let's go here, Joseph, go ahead, Damon.
Well, you said one thing too, Joseph, at the end, and I always like to preface this when you said it is difficult. It's going to be a steep hill, but it will be worth it.
Absolutely.
That is the thing. The power you will yield at the end.
Yes.
So don't get discouraged just because it's difficult. Often, if you are the one that goes to the difficult path, you will benefit a lot more than everyone around you that doesn't. So
as a result of learning, and that's the one thing I forgot to say there, salaries for a proficient Magento Adobe Commerce developer are, let me put it this way, are very healthy. So, that is a career investment. And I want people to understand that it's it's an investment, and it's all investments. There's pain in the investment, but the end is worth it.
Yeah. And hey, and Damon, on Monday, we have a guest. We have Jennifer from Adobe Commerce, which is Magento. Yes. She's going to be on the show Monday. Nice. And we're going to be geeking out about Adobe Commerce / Magento on Monday. So Joseph, let's go here. So for folks that are, we love speaking to manufacturers. That's our jam. That's right, we just love our manufacturers with a deep passion. And how can we help our American manufacturers be as competitive as possible? And man, I'm just shamelessly biased about e-commerce. I think everybody should be in e-commerce. Let's talk about like some starting points. There's that manufacturer out there. They're like, well, you know what? I don't make, $10 widgets, and, walk me through let's take a little bit of an e-commerce 101 for folks out there.
Absolutely. So so basically e-commerce allows you to sell online. It's digital sales, which opens up a whole new market for being able to get your goods out there. So buyers, you can say, as we all age, new buyers are coming into the market, which again, based off how that works, they tend to be younger people. So younger people are much more digitally inclined. And so being able to offer our products to those younger buyers is an immediate win. Those younger buyers don't like to get on the phone as much. They don't like, certainly some of them haven't even heard of a fax machine, right? So being able to present our products digitally is critical. Now, the process to get there could seem onerous, honestly, in some cases. Like there is a process to get there. And that's actually what we have in this cohort coming up, is kind of breaking that down. But a couple of the steps that are really critical is first understanding your products, understanding what subset of products would be best suited for e-commerce. Not all products can be sold through e-commerce. For example, if you're a manufacturer that does custom plastic injection, and every order is different, at the surface, you might say, well, it might not be good e-commerce fit. But in some cases being able to allow customers to come back and reorder products that you have created for them might be a good fit. So even in 100%. Those type of cases, there are some creative opportunities for going to e-commerce.
Yeah. I shamelessly, Damon, you and I talk about this all the time. We struggle to think that there's not a situation that you can't do e-commerce in some capacity, right? And that's right. I, as a matter of fact, we should almost have a show of like, challenge us on it. I would love to get, stump the e-commerce geeks. You know what I mean? Right, John? You're nodding. So John, let's slide over to you, my friend. Speaking of Buffalo, we had a really fun project that you and I did together in Buffalo. And Joseph just mentioned that customer portal. So here was a manufacturer. They sold covert antennas, man, just wonderful. That was the last time you were on the show. We were on site and did a live show with the owner, president, founder, Kyle, and had a great conversation. Damon, and they had a product. I'm pointing like it's right behind me, right? They had a product that came out of it. Was a solution from 9/11. I mean, it was very emotional. It was very, remember, John? I mean, that was like,
it touched me. Yeah.
That was a powerful episode on how there were a lot of communication challenges. I'm getting chills just talking about it right now. There were communication challenges, obviously, 9/11, and they created some solutions. And she had one right behind us while we were doing our live stream and talking about it. And it was a very powerful experience. So they're not selling to consumers. They're selling to first responders, military, that type of thing. To Joseph's point, this isn't like, hey, I'm going to come on and hit the buy button, but the buyer, the FBI agent, the DEA agent, they want that customer portal. Explain to folks that they're like, customer portal, what are you talking about? Take us through a little 101 on what a customer portal looks like for a B2B manufacturer.
Yeah, I think Joseph touched on some elements of that. I mean, as much as you guys like manufacturers, we do too. Typically, manufacturers have more sophisticated needs and, need assistance on selling online. It's not just spinning up a store on Shopify. And a buyer portal is going to give you those B2B tools for repurchases, for shopping lists or requisition lists for when you're reordering. A B2B portal could have some quick order tools. So maybe typically those buyers have much longer to list. You're not just going and adding one item to the cart.
Yeah.
So tools to make that easier, and a B2B portal is going to be, an area for you to go do business in the non-traditional way, not like a direct consumer. Perhaps it's a place where you can do quotes. Maybe there needs to be some price negotiation. And so, I think that covers the most of it. But to me, a B2B portal can be a lot of things. I think we would need to run through those requirements with the client, but that's a good idea of it.
One other thing that, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say one other thing that we find that people ask for a lot is being able to give customers visibility as far as order status. And the term that is most often used is the Domino's pizza style tracker.
Yeah.
So they're able to see, they're not calling up customer service saying, hey, where the heck is my widgets that I ordered? They're able to go right there, see it, get those shipping confirmations. And depending on the manufacturer's system, in a lot of cases, that information is already there, already available. And it's just a matter of just linking it up to the website. It's not generally that big of a deal.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, because when you look at most manufactured products, it takes a while to get them, right? And even if you understand, hey, the materials are in-house, hey, they're in the production floor, or they're this step, that step, that's a perfect example for that. And I think about just the common stuff too. You go way back years ago, some of the leaders in e-commerce in the B2B space had reorder lists, had things like that. And I think the ones that didn't, back in my history, like even things like sheet steel or tooling, there were so many companies that weren't using it, that now you look at that repeat buyer that may not want to do it 8 to 5, may not want to email you something and get something back. But when you can go into that portal and go, yep, here's all the materials we need, rather than, we used to do Kanban junk, and email, all that stuff, you're emailing back and forth. You just take that all away, because I'm online and I could have people on the floor just going, tuk, 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 this is what I need. And it comes in right into the portal for them and does what they need. It takes so much out of it for everybody.
I think what we really are seeing is technology as a differentiator, because here in the U.S., I mean, I'm grateful and I'm really happy to see manufacturing coming back. I think it's amazing, and it really thrills me to see that. But when you're manufacturing, as some people just say, is widgets, like what's the difference between me and somebody else manufacturing widgets? And I think Home Depot, they're not a manufacturer per se, but they are a great case study. They started investing in technology heavily 10 to 15 years ago. When you go to the self-checkout, those, you scan it and it has that cool computer screen. My understanding is that it's all custom built specifically by Home Depot for their needs, integrated into the website, their e-commerce system. All of that's tied together, and that has given them a massive advantage over their competition with Lowe's and some other hardware stores, unfortunately, the local ones as well. But it has given them an unbelievable advantage, this technological differentiating factor.
That is a great case example, because I mean, I mean, all the way through, they've done a good job of that. And when COVID hit, they were ready for it.
Absolutely,
they were
absolutely,
and they left everyone else in the dust. So,
absolutely,
and we hear that as an example all the time in our industry. People will bring up the Home Depot website as an example for what they're trying to do, especially with manufacturers.
Yeah.
So it's they did it right, and they did it at the right time.
Well, and then too, Home Depot also is a third-party platform for other people that are manufacturing items that would sell into a Home Depot, and they've used that as a gateway into their stores if they're popular enough. It is,
yes.
Yeah, I won't go down. It's a long road, but that's stuff it's really cool what they've done, and it is a differentiator, like you said. It can be the manufacturer down the street.
Absolutely, yes. That investment, and again, e-commerce is just one facet of it, but e-commerce is that connection between the manufacturer and this new digital buyer that is, again, becoming much more common in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and hey, and for a shameless plug, we're talking about e-commerce. We're talking about readiness. We are talking about education. I've dropped a link in the chat. Damon, I don't know if you could do me a favor. If you grab that link, drop it on your LinkedIn, put it on LinkedIn.
Do that.
So it's funny. Thank you, dude. And so I want to talk about education for a minute. And to unpack what we were just talking about there, not only is it a differentiator, it now is a necessity. If you don't have like it, hey, how do we separate ourselves? Or Damon, we love talking about like Blue Ocean, right? You know, if you haven't read the book Blue Ocean, boy, go out and grab it this weekend. Yeah. Amazing book. But man, I hate to tell you, as you're saying, Joseph, if you don't have e-commerce, not only is this now potentially not a differentiator, it might be a differentiator the wrong way. And I just did a Damon, I did a webinar yesterday at the New York MEP, and a woman, we chatted, we were on Remo yesterday. Remember our Remo platform? And a woman came back to the table, and what they're hearing, it's really difficult to order from you. When your customer is telling you it's really difficult to order from you, I don't know, Joseph, like how big of a
that's about as big of a problem as it gets, because that means they like your product. There is no reason to inhibit purchasing other than how the heck do I purchase from you? And the solution is, as I would say, is as easy as it gets from the idea perspective, but there is some work to get e-commerce going. I don't want to say it's super easy there, but like the solution is well defined. It's there. It's right in front of you. So make your customers be able to buy from you. Do
it. That I kind of took my breath. I'm like, oh no, and the thing is not, I don't want to be a hypocrite, because like, I'm sure there's plenty of things that I could be doing better, being different. So it's very easy to point fingers. However, as a manufacturer, if you have a sizable company, your sales are in, 7 figures, 8 figures, boy, we really encourage you strongly, to make that a top priority. Joseph, let's go here. Education. We're doing a fun jam session this Tuesday, e-commerce readiness for manufacturers. They're really, it's overwhelming, daunting. John, we've seen clients where they've invested an enormous amount of money. I know the client I'm thinking of, where, they got burnt on a bad website situation, and now they need to come back. There's all sorts, you guys mentioned podcasts, webinars, experts like yourselves to help people be a Sherpa, be a guide, get through that path. Joseph, talk a little bit about that e-commerce readiness. I know we're going to shamelessly, let's talk about our jam session coming up Tuesday. We have a cohort running. Why don't you just talk about that education piece, why educating your customers has been so important to you?
Absolutely. So our customers, as the more what they need to ask from an agency, a developer, define for themselves. One of the big challenges with e-commerce in general is where are we going? Like with software development to infinity and beyond, right? So there's no limits. The issue is though, how do we actually get this done? Like where do we go next? How can we improve sales? And so a vision for e-commerce is one of the most important aspects. Now, obviously there's the nuts and bolts. We have to have our product catalog defined, and we have to have some content, some pictures, that kind of thing. But knowing where we're going to be heading is number one. And that's where that education comes in, because as I understand what's out there, I understand what works. I'm going to try some things. I'll fail at a few things, of course, but that's, again, increases the educational aspect of what I'm doing here. Me as an educated buyer means that I know what to ask for, and I will be able to make more. Again, I'm overusing the word educated, but I'll be making educated decisions as far as guiding this ship, this website exactly to a destination of more success.
Absolutely love it. John, could you piggyback on that? Just talk about like how important that educated, and you've mentioned something earlier that I want to touch on. When you were on the distributor side, you called your partners, you called your agency the partners. They guided you, they educated you. You've been on both sides of the fence. Share a little bit like how important it is you played that role. You now respect that role as that educator. Talk a little bit about that for folks, please.
Yeah, I mean, the agency taught me a lot. Working with an agency, of course, they're going to be building the website for you, but they're going to be asking you questions throughout that process that you haven't thought of before. And so, being able to run through that process, you're going to learn a lot, even if you didn't mean to. And the agencies have been there. They know what questions to ask. They know how to draw those questions out of you. They know how to help you establish that vision. And, I think the biggest thing to take away from that is, use one, call one, run through a discovery with them. They're going to be able to walk and guide you through that. And you're going to learn a lot. You're going to get asked questions that you're not going to know. And you're going to have to go find answers. And you're going to have internal conversations with the rest of your company to get those things answered.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph, what do you want to piggyback on that?
Well, and that's where the training course that we're going to be talking about more here in the future, like that's where that comes in to help guide some of those questions to be able to even short circuit some of that. Yeah.
Right. Well, you know what? And let's go here. And again, I want to be mindful of time. If you're just joining us, it's hey, happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. We want to connect with Joseph Maxwell on LinkedIn. Please connect with John Guest on LinkedIn. These guys are e-commerce extraordinaires from Swift Otter. Let's talk about it. So we're doing a jam session on Tuesday. We have a cohort coming up, e-commerce readiness cohort. Joseph, let's dive in, just talk about some of the things that folks will be learning at the jam session and through the cohort.
Absolutely. So in both of these that are coming up, we're going to be talking about 5 specific subjects as related to e-commerce. The first one is setting that vision. The road trip. We're going to use that as an analogy, like how we get to this destination. What are things that are really important for us to consider along the way? The value also that e-commerce brings. We're going to talk about building out a website. Like what type of content do you need to have on there in order to be successful? Your product catalog, how we get that ready and determine which products should be in that catalog to be pushed up to the website. My favorite one is creating an emotional connection. You'll hear the term around in the industry, B2C means business to consumer. In some B2C instances, I think it should be leveraged more. There's a heart connection. There's a reason why this brand got started that really resonates with customers. Unfortunately, that it's not in all B2C cases, but if it's not in all B2C cases, it's even far less on the B2B side. B2B is generally stale. It's just like this white wall, and it's very transactional. And the goal in that talk there is to put some emotional connection in there, to infuse some heart connection into your brand as it is presented to your customers, which is right there a differentiating factor. So we're talking about e-commerce being a differentiating factor, but also that connection, that heart connection, as we can develop that through your value proposition and your brand story, etc. And then of course dealing with the nuts and bolts like checkout and cart and sales tax and all that kind of stuff as well, but in a fun way as well, just to make sure that all of this information is highly digestible by everybody of all technical levels to be able to join and get a lot out of this.
And hands-on as well.
That's right. Hands-on. Yes.
And hands-on as well. And I love it. And I think the key is you're talking B2B, B2C. What do you always say, Damon? It's H to H, right? It's just, it's human to human.
That's right.
And the goal is you constantly, Damon, if you want to chime in on this, you constantly talk about that friction. How do you create that frictionless experience?
Make it easy to buy, make people feel comfortable with you, all the kind of things. And e-commerce doesn't take that away. It just makes it, you have to do it a different way.
That's right.
You really have to keep that same, you have to do the same things. You're just doing it in a listing on your website. All these things have to evoke that trust and confidence that what they're going to buy from you is what they really want.
Absolutely. And there's elements to that trust, like you were saying there, Damon, on the website that has to be there. There's some boxes we have to check as well. And all of that will be talked about. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. And again, whether, plastic injection molding, if you're a 3D printer, you're making circuit boards, whatever widget product that you make, if you're a custom manufacturer, contract manufacturer, or you're the OEM, we're all selling one thing and one thing only: trust. It's like, do I trust you? Can I count on you? My job's on the line right now. I'm leaving this supplier because they've upset me. And so now I'm looking for a new supplier, and my job is got to report back to my supervisor. I can't take a chance of aligning or partnering with a bad fit. John, let's go here from your experience as a hey, we've got a couple comments here.
We got some time. Diane Byer stopped by. I wanted to make sure we said, she's a longtime guest listener. Human to human. That's where it comes. MD back again. Thanks so much for stopping by to MD. But yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff.
John, as you were building out your, we had a fun conversation about Planet Fitness. So I know that talk about ubiquitous, that's a company everywhere. And I when you go into Planet Fitness, man, they tell you exactly who their ideal customer. We use that word soulmate. They tell you who their soulmate is and who it's not. John, you had some experience there, but just talk about how important it is to understand that buyer. And again, I'm kind of beating that drum a little hard, but how do you provide that wonderful, healthy, trusting experience?
Yeah, I mean, I did work in an industry that was familiar with Planet Fitness. I love that story. They know who they are and they know who they are not. And I think that's so important on e-commerce. And that's one of the first things that we would take you through when you're starting to identify that vision for e-commerce. I think that's so important is to know who you are, know how you're transacting now without e-commerce, and then we'll figure out how we can blend that in. But the other thing about Planet Fitness is it's very affordable. It was $10 a month or something at one point in time. It's been a while since I was near that industry, but everybody told them they couldn't do it. Everybody told them they couldn't do it. And so it's just a fantastic story. But, I think at the end of the day, what we can learn from that is you've got to know who you are, know who you're not. You've got to identify that vision on the front end for how you're doing business now, how your customers are interacting with you, and then tie that into how e-commerce can work within that. You've got to meet your customer where they're at with e-commerce. And there's ways to do that, as we talked about with some of the B2B tools out there now. And so I think navigating that in the beginning and having that vision is key. Very important.
One little thing I'll throw out there in that class that we're doing, every participant will have access to their own B2B e-commerce environment. So what we're doing, if they don't have exposure already to e-commerce or their own environment at that point, they will have free access to get in, make stuff, break stuff. It's all there. We'll work with you to make sure that you understand how that all works. But that's going to be really powerful. Again, like we said, hands-on, making this incredibly practical and successful.
Yeah. So Kurt, when is this again? So people understand what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing a jam session. We're going to do a deep dive. It's this Tuesday, March 5th. It's going to be 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Pacific. So ain't no excuses. You got to join us, man. I've got John and Joseph. I'm going to be moderating. We're going to have a really fun workshop. We've got a couple examples that we're going to be showing. Joseph, I've got the whole program all set, dude. So there's nothing that you guys need to even worry about. And then we're following up. We're doing a cohort on March 19th. And so Joseph, I don't know if let's see, we should grab the link and drop that in there. Let's see if I've got it in here. I do have. Let me grab that link and let me drop it in the chat box. And Damon, if you could do me a massive favor, maybe drop it on.
Oh yeah, LinkedIn. Drop it in the. You bet.
Yep. Drop it so all right, so there's a link to the cohort. So I want to be mindful of time because I know we've been geeking out for a while, Joseph. I'll probably keep it longer than I meant to. So let's start taking it home. Parting thoughts, words of wisdom. Any Damon, what do you got?
Drop it into the private chat, please. I don't see it yet. And then I'll make sure I get it to her.
Okay, I'll send that over to you. Joseph, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom as we start winding down? Get it. We're here getting everybody juiced up and fired up for e-commerce. Your last words here?
E-commerce is the way of the future. It's critical. It's necessary. Come join us on the jam session on Tuesday. We also actually on the Swift Otter site are doing a platform selection conversation, just kind of talking about what e-commerce looks like, how to select a platform. Again, there's so many things out there that can seem super daunting. We're taking these, boiling it down to super, super easy concepts. You'll understand what these next steps are one at a time. Jam session next week. We're going to do then again, the platform selection, and all that is leading towards this cohort. Again, boiling these, what seems like really complex ideas down into things that are understandable by somebody at any technical level.
Absolutely love it. John, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with folks?
Boom. I think Joseph nailed it. I think that's the biggest thing to take away. We're going to break it down into small chunks. It's going to be hands-on, and you'll be able to walk away confident and be that champion internally.
Well,
let's do it.
I love it. Let's take her home, Damon. So just a couple of things to recap on. I just love, guys, if you just joined us, if you just, strongly encourage you, welcome you. Number one, connect with Joseph, connect with John on LinkedIn. Number two, go back and hit the rewind button, man. There's just all sorts. If you're a new entrepreneur, Joseph shared a little bit of his kicking off his entrepreneurial journey. So there's a lot of information there. If you are a business manufacturer and you're trying to figure out this digital transformation, digital sales growth is what we love to talk about. E-commerce, man, we covered a lot here. We have a fun program coming up on Tuesday. All right, guys, I have one. Damon, I have to ask the one last question. I have one.
Let's go with it. Let's do it.
Do you think we should do it? Do you think they're ready?
I think so.
Do you think they can handle it? Can they handle the truth? Huh?
I
started off with Joseph. I'm going to start with John this time. I'm going to start with John.
Here we go. Let's do it.
John, I don't think I asked you this last time. You're a repeat offender on the show. Again, guys, connect with these guys on LinkedIn. Check out Swift Otter. You will tons of e-commerce information there. John, you're a sports fan, University of Kentucky. Are you a baseball fan by any chance?
Not as much. College basketball mostly. Yeah.
Okay. So let's
growing up.
Let's say I don't know who you're near the Reds, right? Cincinnati. I don't know if you've got. Let's say team nearby, right?
Let's do Cardinals.
Let's do the Cardinals. Okay, let's go here now,
right.
Joseph. All right. I told John I do have two different questions here. So I know I kind of threw a curveball earlier. I have two different questions. So Joseph, you hang tight. So Cardinals are playing the hated Cubs. It's a bottom of the ninth. It's tie score. There's a guy on second base, tie score, guy in second base, 2 outs. They need the winning run like right now, John Guess, like right now. The manager turns down the bench and says, "Hey, guess who I need to go up and hit the winning run." You walk up, you grab your helmet, you grab your bat, you're walking to the plate, like a lot of pressure. You've got to hit the winning run. What's your walk-up song?
That is a tough one, Kurt, but I love it. It's going to be State of Love and Trust by Pearl Jam because that song just pumps me up.
Dude.
Boom.
Bam! Oh my God, that was a great answer.
What is it? What's the name of that song?
State of Love and Trust by Pearl Jam. It'll get you going. If it doesn't, there's something wrong with you.
Man, you know what? I'm a 90s grunge guy, and you're the first person that's thrown out Pearl Jam with that answer.
I love it. Boom.
No Pearl Jam right there. So
good stuff.
All right, Joseph, I have a different question. Are you ready? Are you sitting down?
I'm ready. I was actually thinking about my answer for the other one, so I'll take a new one then. Go ahead.
Okay. Guess what? I don't have another question. What's your walk-up song?
There's a lot that'll get me going. I mean, a good Guns N' Roses would probably do it. Sweet Baby of Mine. I like that one.
Sweet
Good
Child
Country.
of Mine.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that's right. Sweet Child of Mine. Yep. I'm actually really terrible with song names. There you go. Yep, there you go.
That would be a good one. You got to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, that would do it.
Hey,
great
David
choice.
Whitney says, "Hey, I never wrote a guess, man. I was like full blown. I had hair back then, Whitney, but I was full blown grunge. That was
we have pictures
90s.
Of that too.
Oh man,
curtain hair.
You know what? I was at Planet Fitness yesterday. Gospel's Truth. They played Guns N' Roses yesterday morning, and a young woman next to me, she had a Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt on. And I'm like, man, I go, you like the Red Hot Chili? So we're geeking out about that. And I'm telling her, I go, best concert of all time. I saw 1995 Pearl Jam at the Buffalo Hockey Arena that I took you guys to. So that was, all right. Hey, man, this was awesome. What a great conversation. Guys, find these guys on LinkedIn. You can find them at Swift Otter. You can join us on Tuesday at our jam session. Man, we're going to be, we're on a mission to help as many manufacturers figure out this whole e-commerce thing. So thank you to everybody in the crowd today. We appreciate you. And if you guys been hanging out here, How about a little round of applause for our wonderful esteemed guests today, Joseph Maxwell and John Guest joining us.
Thank you.
And their dads, go back, catch their heroes. Their dads were their heroes. Yep. Damon, takeaways, parting thoughts. What do you want to share?
I'm just excited. You guys are going to be dropping some great knowledge and helping people really understand e-commerce better to see how they should apply it in their business. And that's good stuff.
Let's do it.
Well, I love it. And say Anna says, hey, champion by Carrie Underwood. And we've got a couple other shout outs here. Diane says, see you Tuesday. Have a marvelous weekend. So guys, God bless you. Thank you. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on Fridays. Connect with these guys. Damon, appreciate you. Joseph, John, thank you, brothers.
Thanks for having us on.
Thank you guys.
And hey, Damon, as we wind down, like I always love to say, just go out and be someone's inspiration, just like these two guys were. Damon, take it away, dude.
All right, Kurt. Well, thanks so much, Joseph and John. It was great having you guys on today, and I'm excited for your jam session on Tuesday. If you didn't catch that, go back in the comments and grab the link for the jam session on Tuesday. You guys, we also dropped the link in there for your B2B cohort about e-commerce readiness and figuring things out there. Go back and listen. Go back to the beginning, start over. And we always want to thank the people that were listening, making comments. Thank you. It makes this a lot of fun to interact with you while we're doing this. And also those that didn't have a chance to comment, we love you out there too. Just keep listening. And if you get a chance to comment, drop a question once in a while and we'll happily answer them for you. But that's all for now. And we'll be back again. Guys, hang out and we'll finish up offline.